There's a pain worse than being rejected, and that pain is realizing you were only needed, never truly wanted. Think about that for a second. Some people don't enter your life because they love you. They enter because they need something from you. Your time, your loyalty, your attention, your kindness, your energy, your healing. And the moment they get what they came for, they vanish like you never existed. No explanation, no goodbye, no guilt, just silence. And the worst part? You sit there replaying every conversation, every sacrifice, every late-night call, every time you showed up for them, wondering what you did wrong. But here's the brutal truth: sometimes you did nothing wrong. Sometimes the only mistake you made was being real in a world full of temporary people. And if you've ever felt abandoned after giving your all, then this video might hit harder than anything you've heard in a long time. Because today, we're going to talk about why people use you and then disappear. People use you because you make it easy for them to stay comfortable. That's the truth no one wants to hear. The kindest people are often the most exploited people. Why? Because kind people don't just give, they overgive. They forgive too fast. They understand too much. They excuse behavior that should never be excused. They keep showing up even when the other person stopped caring a long time ago. And toxic people can sense that. They can smell emotional softness from miles away. They know who to call when they're lonely. They know who to text when their life is falling apart. They know exactly who will answer at 2 a.m. But here's the part that should wake you up. They don't respect the person who always says yes. They only use the person who always says yes. Because when access to your heart is free, people stop valuing what it costs you. Most people don't disappear because they suddenly changed. They disappear because their purpose in your life was already finished. Read that again. They were never building something real with you. They were collecting something from you. Maybe it was emotional support. Maybe it was validation. Maybe it was money. Maybe it was your loyalty. Maybe it was the comfort of knowing someone would always be there no matter how badly they behaved. And once they got full, they left. Not because you were empty, but because they were never hungry for you. They were hungry for what you provided. There's a huge difference between someone loving you and someone loving what you do for them. And if you don't learn that difference, life will keep teaching it to you through heartbreak. The saddest people in the world are not always the lonely ones. Sometimes the saddest people are the ones surrounded by others, but only when they are useful. Have you ever noticed how some people only remember you when they need advice, or when they need money, or when they need emotional support after being hurt by someone else? But when you need them, suddenly they're busy. Suddenly they're offline. Suddenly they forgot. That's not friendship. That's not love. That's not connection. That's convenience. You became their emotional charger. They plugged into you when their battery was dead, and unplugged the second they were full again. And the reason this hurts so much is because people like you don't love halfway. You care deeply. You show up fully. You mean what you say. When you give your heart, you don't hand over pieces. You hand over the whole thing. So when someone disappears after taking so much from you, it doesn't just feel like betrayal. It feels like theft, like they stole time from your life, peace from your mind, trust from your heart. And the most dangerous thing they steal is your ability to believe the next person. That's why being used is so traumatic, because it doesn't just damage the present, it poisons the future. But let me tell you something powerful. People who use others are not strong. They're weak. They don't know how to build genuine bonds, so they survive by draining the people who do. They don't know how to heal themselves, so they attach themselves to healers. They don't know how to stand alone, so they borrow your strength. They don't know how to love, so they imitate closeness until they get what they need. And then they disappear. That vanishing act, that cold silence, that ghosting, it's not proof that you were unworthy. It's proof that they were incapable. Capable people communicate. Mature people stay honest. Real people don't vanish after receiving your soul. Here's where it gets darker. Sometimes people don't just use you because you're kind. They use you because you are wounded. Yes, wounded. If you grew up begging for love, you become an adult who confuses attention with connection. If you grew up earning affection through sacrifice, you become someone who thinks being useful is the only way to be loved. That's why some people keep repeating the same painful pattern over and over again. Different faces, same betrayal. Different names, same abandonment. Because deep down, they are still trying to win the love they never got. So they keep over-explaining, over-giving, over-fixing, overstaying, hoping this time someone will finally choose them for who they are. But users don't choose souls. They choose access. And maybe the hardest truth of all is this. Sometimes people leave because you finally stopped letting them use you. Let that sink in. The moment you set boundaries, they call you selfish. The moment you stop replying instantly, they act distant. The moment you stop rescuing them, they start disappearing. Why? Because your value to them was never your heart. It was your availability. It was your obedience. It was your willingness to carry their chaos while neglecting your own peace. And once you remove that access, they don't see a person they miss. They see a benefit they lost. This is why healing is not just about moving on from people. Healing is about changing the version of you that keeps attracting them. You can't keep having a VIP heart with no security at the door. You can't keep letting everyone enter your life, touch your peace, borrow your energy, and leave fingerprints on your soul. Not everyone deserves your softness. Not everyone deserves your loyalty. Not everyone deserves the deepest parts of you. Because the truth is, your kindness is not the problem. Your lack of boundaries is. Stop telling yourself, "At least I was good to them." That line sounds noble, but sometimes it keeps you stuck. Because yes, you were good to them. But were you good to yourself? Did you protect your own peace? Did you notice the red flags? Did you ignore the imbalance? Did you keep pouring into someone who never poured back? Did you keep calling it patience when it was actually self-abandonment? These are the questions that change lives. Because once you stop romanticizing your suffering, you start respecting your standards. The people who disappear after using you are not your loss. They are your lesson. They teach you who deserves access. They teach you the price of blind loyalty. They teach you that being needed is not the same as being loved. And most importantly, they teach you that not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay. Some people are mirrors, some are warnings, some are tests, and some are temporary storms sent to show you where your emotional roof is leaking. So what do you do now? You stop chasing closure from people who created confusion. You stop begging for explanations from people who benefited from your silence. You stop proving your worth to people who only noticed your usefulness. And you start doing something far more powerful. You become unavailable to those who only come when they need something. You stop answering every call. You stop rescuing every broken person. You stop trying to be understood by people committed to misunderstanding you. You stop offering loyalty to people who only offer presence when it's convenient, because the moment you realize your energy is expensive, everything changes. Your time becomes sacred. Your attention becomes selective. Your heart becomes protected. And suddenly, the same people who once took you for granted start calling you different. But you're not different. You're just no longer accessible to parasites. Remember this forever. People who truly value you don't disappear when you stop being useful. They stay when you're struggling. They stay when you can't entertain them. They stay when you need space. They stay when you're not giving, fixing, saving, or carrying. Real people don't just love your light. They respect your limits. And if someone only loved the version of you that served them, they never loved you at all. So if someone used you and disappeared, don't let that become the story that breaks you. Let it become the lesson that rebuilds you. Let it teach you discernment. Let it sharpen your standards. Let it remind you that your heart is not a public place. And from this day forward, stop trying to be easy to keep. Start becoming hard to misuse. Because one day, the right people will enter your life, and they won't need your pain to recognize your value. They won't need your sacrifices to respect your presence. They won't need your exhaustion to appreciate your love. They'll choose you without conditions. They'll stay without games. And until that day comes, promise yourself one thing. Never again will you confuse being used with being loved. Never beg someone to stay when their only reason for coming was to take.